Hello and welcome to another benefit of the Doud podcast slash review slash comparison. And how you doing? Joining me as always is co-host Cliff. What's up, Cliff, my man?
Oh, doing well. Feeling very flippy today. Just flipping on everything.
Yeah. And just like I've been thinking, man, I just need to stop flipping out so much because like I've
Yeah.
been, you know, I've been I've been flipping over here and flipping over there, and I got all the
Flipping out,
flippy
flipping in,
flips going on. And boy,
flipping over.
you think anybody's looked at the title of this review yet to
I don't
figure out
know.
what we're talking about? Because we're being really super subtle about it. But no,
Extremely subtle.
today we are looking at the Moto Razr Plus versus the Samsung Galaxy Flip 5, Z Flip
Versus,
5.
versus, versus, versus.
And by the way, I would like to send a hearty thank you to our friends at AT&T for providing us with the Galaxy Z Flip 5. Very much appreciate our friends at AT&T for doing that, and AT&T and AT&T. Okay, so I think we've covered our our obligations
What
there.
company was it
Um,
again?
it was AT&T.
Okay.
No,
Just
they
checking
actually
there.
sent me the flip to do a comparison on a couple of writing pieces that I was doing, but I figured, as long as we're actually no, not a comparison so much as just a kind of like an overview of Unpacked. So since technically I haven't done a comparison of this anywhere else, we're allowed to do it here on the podcast,
Woo!
or at least that's how my ethics work. So we're just going to run with it. So without further ado, why don't we go ahead and bring on Skippy and let's take a look.
Hi, Skippy.
Now, hi Skippy. Now, I should mention a couple of different things. If you're looking for a really super comprehensive, in-depth look at both of these devices, you know how to find Mr. Mobile. Uh, he he's already done this. This is actually going to be more of an overview, and the main reason is because since this phone is locked to AT&T, and T, and since I've only had it for about a week, I haven't had a really long time to like fully move in, fully get used to all the quirks and features, built into here. Obviously I used the Motorola Razr for I think like a month and a half all told.
Right.
It was with me. It was with me almost actually, yeah, about a month and a half. So like halfway through, and for me, that's a really long time. Um, but but yeah, so I used this all the way up until I got back from Korea. Which, by the way, patron exclusive video on my trip to Korea is alive on patreon.com benefit of the doubt if you want to
Yeah,
see
that's one
that.
of the benefits
Um,
for subscribing to Patreon for benefit of the doubt. So
and
it
it
actually
was
does have
shot
benefits.
Yeah, it was shot and edited on the Motorola Razr Plus, totally.
Oh,
So
very
that's
cool.
fun. But anyway, so we wanted to take the this opportunity. Probably not going to be one of the longer videos that we've ever done, but we just wanted to kind of gloss over some of the differences that you're going to notice in between these two devices. And it starts really with the hardware. Because I know Cliff has the Motorola Razr Plus, so he could definitely take a look,
I do. Ooh, gaffer tape.
chime in on that. Yep, gaffer's tape. No gaffer's tape on this one yet. We're still
That's how
working
you
on
know
that.
he hasn't been driving it that much. He
Right,
hasn't put.
exactly,
He hasn't transferred the gaffer tape.
exactly. But right off the bat, the Motorola Razr has a much more rounded hardware design as opposed to the squared off Samsung design, and that's gonna really jump out at you for a couple of different reasons. First of all, in terms of like, I'm not one that like puts a lot of stock in hand feel, but just in general, this is a lot. The Motorola Razr Plus is a lot smoother to use. It's also easier to slip in a finger to flip open the
Right.
phone.
That would be my major.
Because
Like, you got that little indentation there to for the
yeah,
one-handed open. Right.
so I mean, there is a similar indentation here, and you can do it. Like my thumbnails are actually a little bit longer than I know most people keep theirs because I don't know, I'm too lazy to trim them. So I can get a thumbnail in there and flip it over. But I know like a couple of reviewers have actually accidentally tossed their phones trying to do the one-handed flip
Mm.
open, because it's not very conducive to it unless you can really, like I said, this one is just it's so natural. It like begs to be opened that way. Um, but the other thing in terms of hardware, the main difference is going to be, well, actually, two main differences, I guess. First of all, the cover screen. I did turn the Moto on, didn't I? I know I was charging it, but I thought I had turned it. Oh, I guess I hadn't turned it on yet. Okay. Well, anyway, the cover screen on the Moto Razr Plus is larger because the cover screen takes up this entire slice of this entire slice of cheese here, including wrapping around the cameras. Whereas on the Samsung, if you can see, there's kind of like this little, what's the word? I knew the word for it.
Dog leg,
Oh,
indentation,
I was actually going with notch, I think.
notch. Not notch works too.
It has this notch that kind of dips down over to the side here because Samsung didn't want to wrap their screen all the way around all around the phone, which, I guess I don't blame them, but
One thing I've noticed before you go into the talking about the cover screens and the differences in the software and the design is I do notice that the Motorola is a little bit I guess taller. It's hard to put that in the right words because depending on how you
yeah,
have it.
yeah, from a footprint perspective, yeah, it is a little bit taller. And from a width, I think it's also a little bit wider. So in
Hmm.
general, I think this cover screen is just a little bit bigger. This is a 3.6-inch screen versus a 3.4-inch screen on
A
the
folding phone from Samsung that's narrow. News at
right.
10,
Get out.
right? Yeah.
Um, yeah, I can't believe that. You're completely. Why won't you take my stupid pin, jerk? Okay, there we
Because
go.
those the
So
fingerprint.
now you can see. Well, it wasn't
Yeah.
taking the fingerprint either,
Hmm.
but now you can see like more. The
Yeah, there
difference.
you go.
Stop it.
It is funny
More
when,
of the difference.
when the screens are off. I mean, the layout of the cameras and even with the flash is very similar.
It's virtually identical. Yeah.
Yeah.
But now, one thing that I like about, in terms of the cover screen, the one thing that I like about the Samsung is that there is a lot you can do with these cover screens. You can like reorder them.
Hmm.
Um, I thought you could. Maybe you can't. I don't know. Like I said, it's only been a week. But they have a lot of different options for different cover screens that you can do. Here's the cover screen, and like a ton of like different widgets and layouts and stuff like that. I mean,
Yeah.
all these different.
Samsung's approach does feel like until you enable the through Good Lock using the additional apps, it feels very much like a smartwatch to me.
Which we will talk about. That is another thing, in terms of like notifications, and actually, I think I have a notification from you on here. Through God damn. The security is really bugging me. So I had a notification through
Telegram.
through Telegram, and you can't actually. Well, okay, I'm looking for like a messaging one. Okay, here we go. So like for email, fine, Gmail, whatever, got it. God bless America. I swear to God, I've done Gmail in here. Um, but and I'm guessing actually the point that I was about to make is probably no longer valid because I turned on the good lock stuff. Because I just did that before we started here. But up until I did that before, you weren't able to action notifications. Like if you got an email, you couldn't
Yeah.
do anything with it. You couldn't
Right.
archive it. You couldn't do anything. And I just since I turned on Gmail for the cover screen, it appears that is no longer the
Ah.
case. So
So
that's
it
fun.
just didn't have permission before to give it
Yeah,
up. Okay.
I think so. I think that's probably what was
That's what
going
we're
on.
going with.
But whereas with notifications um, on the Moto, you can do just about anything you want with these things. You can you could dismiss them, or you can archive emails, and you could do a whole bunch of other stuff with the notifications. And the thing that's worth pointing out is that with Motorola, you can do that out of the box. There's no good lock modifications required. And that brings us to kind of like the second major difference in between these two phones, which is, I think, actually kind of like a 1A, if you will. But with the Motorola, if you want to launch, and we've talked about this ad nauseum, if you want to launch any app you want on this screen, you can do it. Just about. I mean, what do we say? Like 80% of the
That
apps I
was
think I
what.
have on my
So
phone.
you had at the time we reviewed it, you had 200 and something apps,
200.
and it was like 160 that would actually
Yeah.
function
Yeah,
on the Motorola.
exactly. Like you can play Call of Duty Mobile on the cover screen. You can read a book through Kindle on your cover screen if you wanted to. Now, I have since enabled the good lock workaround that allows you to do that on the Samsung. Um, there's two different ways that you can do it, and actually, this is a good way to point this out. Is you see we've got Maps, Messages. Funnily enough, we have a second Messages app, and then Netflix and YouTube. These are the apps that Samsung has specifically worked with the developers to make an optimized performance layout for the cover screen.
It was like Spotify too, right?
Spotify was no, no,
Oh
I
no, that
don't
was
think
the
so.
Moto.
No,
Never mind.
that's on the Moto. Yeah. Anyway, so these five apps, these are the ones that Samsung has said, yes, you could use this in the app. I'm just going to open Netflix, even though I'm not signed in. Might actually sign me in, but um, there we go. Um, let me go to my profile, and then you can see that I'm a puppy. When you, let's just play a show, and I guess we'll play Lincoln Lawyer. Sure, why not? Um, and when you have this
I've
show
heard great
going,
things.
it's pretty good. I watched season one. I'm waiting for season two to fully release before I move into it. But anyway, so like they've got the navigation buttons down at the bottom here. Let's just hit play, and then so they've got this kind of optimized for the screen. Like there's nothing wrapping around the eyeballs here. There's you've got all your play Chrome that you need. The skip forward, the skip back, play whatever, et
Right,
cetera, et cetera,
functionality
et
for
cetera.
the screen in order to use it just like you would want to.
Exactly. So this has been optimized for this phone. This is one of the chosen apps, if you will. Now, once you add Good Lock, you can expand that capability to basically everything else, similar to what you have on the Motorola. The difference is that getting from here, where there's no apps running out here, to here, where you can run a whole bunch of apps, you have to download GoodLock. You have to enable the app launcher in the labs portion of the settings. You have to download GoodLock. Then you have to you have to install an app from GoodLock that specifically allows you to bring stuff to the screen. Then you have to close GoodLock and relaunch it. And then you'll get into the part where you can actually hit I think it's a button that literally says I love Flip or I love Galaxy, and then you can go in here and you can manually turn on whatever
Right.
apps you want.
So two
So
things. It
it's
number one, it's basically another launcher on top of the launcher on the cover screen, right? That it's
right.
enabling through Good Lock. And then two, my thoughts on this immediately are how many people that buy this phone, which I think of the two Samsung foldables that they just introduced about a month ago, um, how many people are actually going to know that you can do this? Because how many, first of all, if you're not a smartphone aficionado like you and I are, and a lot of our
Right.
listeners, how are the sales people going to let them know that hey, you've got this added functionality? All you have to do is go through a, a secondary app store and then install this and then do check a few boxes.
Right. So my answer to that is they're not.
Exactly, exactly.
The only people that are going to run apps like the Delta app or the United app on the cover screen of the Galaxy Z Flip phone are nerds like you and me. We're the ones that are going to go in and we're going to tinker with it and we're going to get it to work the way you want, the way we want it to. So I'm
Right.
going to run blue sky on here, hell or high water. I don't care how it looks, that kind of thing. So now, whereas on Motorola, that functionality is built in from day one. All you have to do is go over to the apps tab, you hit this little edit button, and here's all the apps that you could run right out of the box. So Motorola's value proposition is you could run anything you want on this outside screen.
Pretty much. Yeah.
Samsung's value proposition is we've decided here are a few apps that work pretty well on here. And okay, if you really, really want to, we're going to let you go ahead and dive in and monkey around with it. But we don't think 99% of you are going to go that far. So that's why we're going to hide this behind, several different layers of menus. And for the most part, I think it's really hard to say who exactly is right because from a me standpoint, I want Motorola's version because I just want to dive in and get it done and, run stupid large apps on a stupid small screen.
Because you
That's what I
can.
want to do because
Mm-hmm.
I can. But when it comes to the general public, this is a much more Apple way of doing things. This is the experience we're going to give for you, and this is how you're going to use this phone.
Right.
And I can't say I completely disagree with that because honestly, from a customer satisfaction standpoint, you're going to be like, oh, I can run Cody Cross on here. Oh, it looks like crap. That's stupid. I'm never going to do that again.
Right.
Or you can be like, I wonder what I can do on this cover screen. Oh, darn. It looks like I can't do Cody Cross. Well, that's okay. I guess I'll just do something else.
Sure.
You
Yeah,
know?
it's definitely eliminating some customer service potential headaches for Samsung with the more
And
curated experience.
and it's removing them for the vast majority of the customers that are going to be actually using this phone. And I think that's the important thing that we need to not lose sight of is that Samsung is probably making the right call here. I just prefer Motorola's call. You know,
This
from a
feels very similar to our comparison between the Fold and or the Pixel Fold and the Samsung Galaxy Z Fold.
a little bit. I think there is something to be said there. Now, from a software standpoint, I very much vastly prefer Motorola in almost every way. like
Hmm.
and by the way, we've got like 5 more minutes here, so I want to try to wrap this up. But when it comes to like the hardware experience, this is such a much better built phone. The Samsung
Really?
Z Flip, it really is. Like, okay, so like with the Motorola, you can get a little flexing on the cover on the screen here, like when you're, I don't know if that's really translating all that well, but like this rocks back and forth a little bit.
Hmm.
And this one, this is rock solid. Also with
With the
the
hinge.
the flex mode,
Right.
like
Oh, yeah,
this
you can see it there.
this is pretty floppy. This is absolutely not. Like, and like this is okay. Like a little flop is fine. But, this one, oh, you want to go there? Okay, that's exactly where I'm going to stay. Oh, you want to
Yeah.
go there? That's exactly where I'm going to. So I mean, like, just from a hardware standpoint, this is a much this feels like a much better built phone. And that kind of makes sense because even though this is the fourth generation of flip phone for Motorola.
Right.
This is the
Third that you
first
could get in the United
generation.
States.
This is the first generation that they've actually adopted this kind of
Hmm.
build. The other ones had the big chin, and it was a lot more razor-like. Which there's something to be said for that nostalgia. But I'm actually glad they went this direction with it. Both of these phones cost about $1,000. So, depending on deals and, whatever carrier deals, actually, I know most of the carriers had ridiculous deals on the Moto. So
Yes, they did, especially
you've
at
probably
launch.
you've probably already bought one by now if you're going to buy one. But the flip is, right around the same price. Um, the camera quality, I need to full disclosure, I haven't taken a full set of night photos with the Samsung phone yet, but I can already tell you that the Samsung is going to have the better set of cameras because the Motorola phone is a Motorola phone. So I don't want to put too fine a point on it. This is a not bad camera, but this, at least from what I've seen so far, is very much better.
Yeah, and you've got that just the added improvements in the hardware in terms of the Snapdragon 8 Gen 2 with its better co-processing
Right.
versus the 8 Gen 1 Plus with the Motorola. It's just those
Yeah.
added benefits of Qualcomm's optimizations with this newer system on a chip. So
Yeah, this one did have last year's processor in it, so that's an important distinction to be
sure.
made. I'm trying to make a fancy little X here while we're talking here. But did you have any like final questions before we wrap things up here, or did anything jump to mind while I was talking about the phones with you, Cliff?
I think so. Maybe if you would just want to wrap it up in the same way that if you want to do sort of the because I think you're going to have a similar conclusion compared to the fold comparison that we did. So
Okay.
maybe talk
Um,
about that for your in your use case or your experience.
So if you forced me to buy one of these phones, I would probably buy the Motorola. Just because I kind of dig Motorola's vibe a little bit more as far as like,
Plus, you have
you know,
the chop and all the nice little Moto goodies that are such a nice
and
value add.
and you don't have One UI on here, which is which is important. You know
Right.
what? I really tried with One UI. I was really enthusiastic about it when it first came out. Like, what was it, 5, 6 years ago at
Mm-hmm.
this point? I was really but it's really starting to just get old, and I much prefer the cleaner build on the Motorola phone. Um, so yeah, if you forced me to spend my own money, I'm probably going Motorola. Um, as far as what everybody else should buy, that's not as clear cut a
Right.
decision. The one thing that the Pixel Fold had over the Samsung was the aspect ratio difference. I much preferred the landscape aspect ratio on the Pixel Fold and the usability of the cover screen over the Samsung Galaxy Z Fold. With these two, it's not that clear cut a difference. There is a slight difference in terms of like aspect ratio and usability, but for the most part, it's not that different. So I don't think that there is a strong case to be made. What I will say is that from a support standpoint,
That's what I was thinking too.
you're probably going to have a better you're probably going to have a better time with the Samsung because they've been doing this for 4 years with this form factor. They pretty much know how to fix these now.
Right.
Whereas
Also, from
again,
the software standpoint, right, you have Motorola's promises of longer support than they have in the past versus Samsung executing on really like 3 years of Pixel or better length of support. Not to mention the
right,
Samsung, as you said, depending on where you live, Samsung experiences stores where you can actually take it in, much like Apple in that respect to get it repaired.
right,
If hopefully you don't have to, but if you have to,
right. I think you're going to have a easier time getting this repaired if you have to. I think there's going to be a bigger accessory market for this. I know Samsung
definitely.
itself is developing several different cases for this. And actually, when I was at Unpacked, they had these NFC plates that the you could put underneath a clear case that
Hmm.
had like a Pringle scan on it or something like that. And when you opened the phone, there was like a little animation on the outside that showed like Pringles chips falling into the Pringles can. It was kind of cute, not amazing, but it was kind of cute. So, but anyway, yeah. So just to wrap things up, it's not as clear a cut case. I would probably say you're probably better off getting the Samsung, but it's a much closer race than, in my opinion, than the Fold versus the Z Fold.
And if you haven't watched our Motorola Edge Plus review, it's out there, and I think
Mm-hmm.
we're pretty proud of it. It's a lot of fun, and
Yeah.
I think I would say the same thing as you. I personally, I feel like the Motorola phone is the enthusiast phone, unless you're a Samsung enthusiast, and that's the one that I would go with. It's just a lot more open, but yeah, I think for most people, the Samsung is probably the safer, smarter choice.
The better phone for most
Most
people. But
people,
yeah, so I think
yes, indeed.
I think that's kind of where we are. Let's go ahead and wrap this up. If you have any questions about either of these phones, drop them down in the comments. because I'm still going to be using these phones for a long time. So, if you want to know anything, especially if one does one better than the other, I will be happy to talk about that down in the comments. But for now, that's going to do it for this comparison on the benefit of the Doud podcast. Please hit that subscribe button down there if you like it and you subscribe it or you do the likey and the subscribe things. Honestly, you've been on YouTube this long, I probably don't have to tell you what
Hit
to do. So
that
just do
bell.
it. So just
Ding
do it.
dong.
Do it and smash it, and we're all good to go. And if you're listening to the podcast, go ahead and leave a review for the podcast in the review place wherever you get your podcast, and that would very much help us out. But for now, I'm going to thank Cliff Thomas for all of his hard work behind the scenes, and I'm going to thank all of you for listening and for giving us the benefit of the Doud.